I'm Pastor Paul Marzahn, and welcome to The Best Story Ever. That's right, we're still studying this amazing book called The Best Story Ever as we walk through the Hebrew Scriptures in the Old Testament. And this week we pick it up with an amazing story by a man named Samuel. Now, I wish I could say on Sunday I preached on Samuel, but I didn't get to. In fact, we had amazing preachers who talked about it. We had Michael Rivera share at the Lakeville campus about how he received his call to ministry just like Samuel. We also had Mark Schlesner, our pastoral intern, give a video testimony about how he received his call, along with Caitlin Stenerson. And also, Caitlin Stenerson preached up at the Inver Grove Heights campus, just explaining her call to ministry and how Samuel was called. And of course, we had Pastor Gordon, who started as an intern here in Lakeville, received his call to ministry, and now planting a church, a Crossroads campus, if you will, down at the Elko New Market area. All of them received their call at some point younger in their life as they began to study and go through education. And that call was affirmed here at Crossroads, where we said, you know what? We think you also have a call. We voted on them and sent them into ministry. And so this is an amazing story because it's about a call to ministry in a very unique way. So if you have your great story ever in your scriptures, get them out at this time. We see basically it starts with a woman by the name of Hannah. And Hannah is not able to have a child. She prays to God. God says, I'll give you a child as a gift. She says, I'm so grateful to have a child that I'm going to dedicate it to God. And this was a common practice. And so she said, I'll give it to the temple to serve at the temple. Even though he wasn't a Levite or professional priest, he was going to serve there. So that's what happened. She became pregnant. God answered her prayer. She conceived and gave birth to Samuel. So Samuel then began to serve the chief priest there by the name of Eli. And we kind of pick up this thing where Samuel grows up in God's house, learning to serve and love him. But then Samuel heard from God very clearly a call one night. And so he basically, what happens is he sees that he's supposed to answer this call. Let's pick up our scriptures as we turn to 1 Samuel. So we have Hannah in the first chapter asking for the prayer. The second chapter, she gives this amazing prayer I'd encourage you to read through. It's just this God of prayers. And then we see Eli, who is the priest, has the wicked sons. So actually Samuel, when he goes to serve there, is actually well loved by Eli because he realizes how wonderful he is. And then basically the Lord calls Samuel. And so it says, the boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. And in those days the word of the Lord was rare, and there were not many visions. So one night Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could not barely see, was lying down in his usual place. And the lamp of God had not yet gone out. And Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. And Samuel answered, Here I am. And he ran to Eli and said, Here I am, you called me. But Eli said, I did not call you. Go back and lie down. So he went and laid down. And then it happens a second time. And Eli's going, I didn't call you. So it says that now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. So a third time he calls him. Samuel gets up and goes to Eli and says, Here I am. Did you call me? So finally Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So in verse 9, chapter 3, it says, So then Eli told Samuel, Go and lie down. And if he calls you, say, Lord, speak, for your servant is listening. So Samuel went and laid down in the palace. The Lord came and stood there, calling as he did the other time, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel said, Speak, for your servant is listening. And the Lord said to Samuel, See, I am about to do something in Israel to make the ears of everyone who hears it tingle. And he goes on and talks about the prophecy here. So then Samuel lay down into morning, and then opened the doors of the house of the Lord. And he was afraid to tell Eli the vision, but Eli called him. And then Samuel shared the vision. We see where Samuel grows up. And then I love this chapter 4. It says, And then Samuel's word came to all of Israel. In other words, he was recognized as the voice of God from that time forward. So we see when there's the anointing of the first king, Samuel is called forth to anoint Saul as the first king. We see also where he's later called to anoint David as his successor as king. So we have all these wonderful stories. And so I'd like to encourage you to take out your best story ever tonight. And if you do so, it talks a lot about the various things that are happening here, and particularly in Samuel chapter 12. It says, What is something that you have prayed for and God has answered? Share what you asked for and how long you prayed for it and how God answered it. And then what do you think guides God's decisions when he responds to our prayers? That's a great question, right? A good discussion time. And then it actually asks you to go into prayer. Like, what is something you'd really like to see God do in your life or your family's life or in the life of a friend? Great questions to talk about and to discuss as a family, discuss in your small group, or discuss in your personal devotion time. Let's take a time for some prayer. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for the study of your word once again, particularly in 1 Samuel, where we begin to understand this young boy who later becomes a leader of the nation of Israel, called from an early age, dedicated to you. And we thank you for his call to ministry, to listen and say, yes, Lord, here I am your servant. Each of us receive a call in so many ways to ministry, not necessarily professional, full-time ministry, but we serve sometimes as we nurture our children. We serve in ministry whenever we gather at the church and we have worship. We serve in ministry whenever we volunteer in a variety of ways to further the cause of Christ. So however you're serving, Lord, I just pray that you give us that same response of Samuel, saying, here I am your servant, send me. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.